So I was reading comments and getting back to people, and one comment was from cute brunettes. That was Melina and Marina, and they were talking about how they watched a video with me and Rich. And back then I was having a session with Rich, and I was like removing entities, removing agreements, and also doing the past life recall and like removing issues I've had there. And from that, as they watched, they said now while watching, they've also felt like something released from their space. And that's something I want to talk about right now. It just makes me think how like this is not just one thing, but it's also a pattern. I'm seeing a lot of people having the same thing. As in when I'm giving sessions to others, and if there's anyone else watching, or I'm giving sessions to someone else and I'm the one winning, there's a lot of connection because we as beings we lived for so long, for billions of years, and our issues are basic. We are really related to each other in lots of ways, and at some point we can relate to people and their stories. You can relate to me at some point with like, hey, I'm just a simple person trying to get by, just sharing my thoughts of views, and if you find something you agree with me, like, hey, we have something related. But also when I would bring up my past life experiences and like my agreements, my thoughts with something, and like my entity issues, we would find something that we like, hey, I feel like something similar is happening to me, and we can relate to something. So that is the thing when we're doing sessions. So for example, I'm giving someone else a session, or I'm watching someone else doing a session like to each other and stuff. I am noticing how other people are getting wins. Not just the one that is getting the session, but also the people giving. And that is because like we've been living for so long, and I'm repeating myself, but our issues are related and connected. I experienced something similar like you did, and probably like I'll take a simple case. I'm giving a session to a person who doesn't like drinking water. He needs the water in his life a lot. He likes tea, he likes coffee, he likes other drinks. Water is not a thing. Water is like, ugh, like the person, like, he doesn't like it. So what happens is like, okay, let's address not drinking water, not liking drinking water, like all kinds of issues. It's just like drinking water, not liking drinking water, hating water. You can name tons of issues related to water. And as we're going there, the person taps into his past life, and he is able to recall a time where he got poisoned by the water, like he was wounded and he's trying to get back, and he gets to the river, and like he's so thirsty after running for days that he drinks from a river, and that's when he gets a disease and he dies a few weeks later. And it just keeps on coming. He's trying to get a drink at the castle, and he's like having a conversation. Someone poisoned the water. He drinks it. Oh, it's just the water. He's gonna take a drink. He drinks it, gets a poison, dies in a minute, and it just keeps on going. We keep like tapping into tons of past lives where something was related to water. He drank water. He was poisoned. He drowned in water. He couldn't escape the water. Like tons of things. In this life, he gets water. Simple. It's just like our everyday issues are so related. And as the person is getting a session, and like he's getting wins, like getting lots of releases and chuckles and laughs, like he's finally able to release all the emotional pressure. And as we're doing the session, he starts drinking water, and he likes it. It tastes better. And next thing you know, half a year passed, and he's drinking water every day, a bottle a day, and that's great. It's like awesome to see people seeing win. Like it's awesome seeing people win like that. And at the same time, as the person having a session, I'm getting similar releases. In my past lives, I've also drowned. I've also had things with water. And like I'm getting a release, and now I'm getting the win as he's getting the session. And I'm just like, yeah, I like water, and like I get into the water. And it's so common, like as we are addressing like our past life issues, as we're addressing our soul contract agreements, as we look at our entity problems, if we are able to release it and people are watching how we do it, we can relate to something, and as they do it, we can release things as well. Now, knowing that we are really powerful, people who are doing soul contract revocations, people can revoke agreements as easily as noticing it. You don't have to do the whole revocation method, and like you don't have to take an hour. You can like remove it as easily as you spot the agreement. Like, oh, my whole life I've been like poor. My whole life I've been that. And you like focus on something specific. It's really important to get something specific, because if you go all over the place, you can remove little like dust in a whole desert. So it's not gonna count, which is why we get specific. We remove anything. There's like small things that like build up, and once we're able to do that, we remove the key things that holds the whole like agreement, that holds the case on you. And once we can do that, like Because it can have any relation to drinking water, to you having any disease, to you having myopia, like high doors, for like anything. But once you get specific and start removing agreements, if you're able to talk it up and you notice your agreements, just spotting them will have your attention and remove the agreement. Now what happens, it's not like, hey, you spotted the agreement and never again you have to do the soul contract revocation. No, the method is created specifically for removing it completely. You can remove it, but it also can come back, which is why when you do the revocation, there is a step like, removing out any kind of reinstatement clauses, counterparty copies, and you can just name it. So, you get a win while doing the process and just spotting the agreement, but you get lots of wins when you also remove anything related to it, any connections, anything that keeps them to coming back, any kind of that. So it's important, not just noticing it, but also removing it completely. And, if I was to do a session and just, remove, lots of things, I don't know, regarding my health, my work, my relationships, anything like that, and you were watching me doing a session, you'd probably get wins as well, because at some point people start relating, hey, yeah, I have the same thing, I have the same issue. And as people, do these sort of releases and someone else is watching, if, for example, I started doing sessions every day, and I would start removing my agreements, but you would see what I agree to and how I do it, you would also get the wins because you are doing it at the same time with me. You're listening, but that information that you get is sort of it just wakes you up. And if there are any entities in your surroundings that are sleeping or unaware, and they think that's them causing it, and you wake them up, you yourself become aware of it, and you wake them up. So these entities oh, it's not me, and all of a sudden they are not agreeing with their current life, they're not agreeing with what they want to do, and they leave you, which is it's amazing, because I've been giving people sessions, and I've also seen other people getting sessions. I'm in the same room, and my friend's giving a session to someone else, and I'm just watching. And my point is I'm just gonna watch for entities and stuff and just see how it works. For me, it was really interesting just being a spectator. So I'm seeing a soul contract session being given, and I see a person talking it up, bringing up their divine inner self, and doing all this inner work. And what happens, I see the entities waking up, leaving, being in their surrounding, and there are steps where you remove all the entities, you remove all the agreements, and you call back all the your missing soul aspects, your soul fragments and stuff. So as they're coming back, there are entities who literally disguise as the good soul fragment. It's hey, I'm the good guy. I'm your I'm your personality type or something. And they just disguise. And what happens is, as the entity tries to act like a good one, and they're coming back, all the good ones that are actually serving you gets in the way and forces a shield, and they're not letting that through. So what happens, you're feeling something's happening and you're not getting it back, they're fighting. And I'm just seeing the person get a session, and all of these entities having a fight, the bad ones want to come in, the good ones are just being with you and stopping you, and it's just amazing to see how it works. But at the same time, as I was watching that, beings around me, little entities that were they're unaware of the issue that I've had, as I was listening, hey, I started relating, yeah, I can agree to that, I've noticed that same thing happened to me. What happened was, I was waking up regarding my own issue, and the entities I've had related to that issue started leaving, because I was oh, yeah, and I was getting aware, and the entities left, and while watching the session, I've had a win. So that's amazing. And so I'm just recommending, hey, you're watching these sort of videos that Rich and I do, you're watching some other people have sessions, if you are aware of how it works, you can get a lot of wins, and wake up the entities, remove your agreements, remove your case, and just get some wins in life. So that's a short video. I'm just sharing how it works, but it's just amazing knowing that how long we lived, all kinds of experiences we had. And you hear about someone else's experience and about their past life, and as they're able to recall it and realize the issues they've had, you can relate to it subconsciously, because right now you're not aware of your past life. Probably you don't know much about what you've had in the past, but subconsciously your soul knows. Your soul knows everything you've been through. And as you hear another person recall their past life, you at the same time hey, I had that thing. Not necessarily all the time, but there are times where you've literally had the same experience, had something very similar, and you become more and more aware. And you can literally, as you're listening to other people recall their past lives, you can hey, and you literally recall yours. Or I'm doing soul contract session, and I'm looking at the agreements I've had and how they were limiting my whole life. And as I'm doing the revocation method, I'm starting recalling my past lives. Like, I'm saying a key phrase like, like smart people don't talk much. Like, it's a key thing. Like, it's a key teaching. Like here in this world, or like smart people have a lot to say but they're quiet, or like people who are quiet have a lot to say, blah blah blah, like all of these things. But these key phrases, key beliefs were actually commands from our past, and they literally programmed us back then. Not all the time, but it happens. So if you have this key phrase, key belief just coming back like a pattern, and you can always notice it throughout your life, look at it closer. It might be a command from your past life, and you can literally recall your past and remove the incident or anything traumatic, and you just like release anything that's traumatic, but you have the full recall, and now it's not affecting you in any negative way. But now you get the memory, you get the awareness, you get the knowing, and it fills you up with like, hey, I know about myself, I know like my past, and you have more knowledge, more information about how to deal with life, and it's just amazing. So no, just a short video. I was reading comments, it just inspired me, like, hey, I'm gonna talk about Lil. So yeah, hear this, and after this, I'm back to reading comments and answering you people. So yeah, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.